Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Sarah Smith, and you're listening to Raw Intentions. All right, coming at you live per usual from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. And I'm so excited for this week's episode and this week's guest. But before I get into that, I will give y'all my little elevator pitch because I love talking about myself and have to tell you all about me just in case it's your first time listening. And even if not, you just get to hear it again. Lucky you. But like I said in the intro, my name is Sarah Smith, Sarah with an H, Smith with A-Y. I'm from Madison, Alabama, currently living in Breckenridge, Colorado, a little ski town. I'm 30 years old, which is the second time I'm ever saying that on this podcast because I just turned 30. So it feels very weird to say. And yeah, when I was in college, I was at Auburn studying rehab disability studies in Spanish. I had plans to be a bilingual occupational therapist, never went back to school for grad school because I was incredibly broke all throughout high school, college, just waitressing at Texas Roadhouse, trying to pay my non-existent bills of Red Bull vodkas and sorority t-shirts. And I started making handmade jewelry for myself and for my friends. And it slowly snowballed into a full-blown business and made me completely bypass grad school and anything I planned to do with my life. So it's called Raw and Rebellious. It's at raw_rebellious on Instagram. Definitely give us a follow if you don't already. And what started as handmade jewelry like 8 years ago out of my college apartment is so much more than that now. We do apparel, we do hats, we do prints, we do shoes, we do collabs, we do meetups, pop-ups, bar crawls, one of which I'm hosting this weekend. So yeah, it's kind of taken on a life of its own and turned into a little bit of everything. And that's what led me to start this podcast at Raw Intentions Podcast on Instagram. Follow us there too. I know I'm asking for a lot. And I started this podcast obviously as an extension of my brand, but also to create a lifeline to our community. I get to meet so many people through my job, either virtually via Instagram and DMs or at all of the real life events that we do. And I wanted to create something that was even more authentic, more raw, more intentional to communicate on a deeper level with our community. So it's been so much fun. I loved it so much. I do solo episodes. I have guests on about literally every topic under the sun. And I think, although like I said, I love to hear myself talk, the guests are my favorite part of having a podcast. It lets me grow my circle, grow my community. I selfishly get to, be curious and ask questions and learn new things about new people and call them friends. And I also love giving other people a platform to share their own story. It's been really special. And that brings us to our incredibly amazing guest this week. This week, we've got Ryan Fantau on the podcast. Ryan and I met through mutual friends in Breckenridge. It is a small town, and he's lived there for, I think he said 15 years. I am what he calls in this podcast a freshman to town. I've only lived there for a year, so I'm still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But Ryan's done just about everything. He bartended for a long time in Breckenridge at various places. He's been a rep for Burton, the snowboard company. He loves snowboarding, and that's kind of what brought him out to the mountains in the first place, chasing the snow and dreams, as so many of us do. And after, 15 years in Breck and in the industry, he decided to go off on his own and start his own business. It was such a fun conversation. Not only do we talk about, the highlights and the highs of living in such a beautiful place, but we also touch on the really hard things, the dark side of living in a ski town and what the reality of that looks like. But truly love this conversation with Ryan so much. I feel like I learned so much, and I feel so lucky to call him a friend. He's truly an amazing person, and I can't wait for you to learn all about his business, his story, and all the things. So without further ado, let's welcome Ryan Fantau to Raw Intentions Podcast. So where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born in Huntington Beach.
Oh, cool.
In Southern California.
Uh-huh.
A Marine Corps family. So
okay.
my dad and stepdad both are a bit of legends in their own right.
Uh-huh.
They both retired out of the Marine Corps at like 26 and 27 years respectively. So we traveled all over the country.
Uh-huh.
So from Huntington Beach, we left Orange County when I was like 6 years old.
Uh-huh.
We went to North Carolina to Cherry Point. It's an air station for the Marine Corps. Started elementary school there, then moved back to California to 29 Palms, which is like a little Mojave Desert town next to Joshua Tree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a Marine Corps base where the Marines practice war games there in the desert.
Okay.
And at that point, my stepdad was a tank commander, so we were there. And then we moved to Maine for middle school. And that's when I fell in love with snowboarding. That was like truly my first love. You still hand wrote letters to mountains like, can I get a trail map and some stickers? And like my wall was just covered. I was obsessed with Burton. I was writing papers about Jake Burton in middle school.
Wow.
And they didn't have, there wasn't like, the internet was a thing, but it wasn't as, you couldn't tap into it as easy as you can now. So I'm like talking to their PR department as a middle schooler, like, I need all this information on Jake Burton. They're like, well, we're just going to send you a PR kit, you know? And so like, they're sending me this fat stack of information on the guy when I'm in middle school while I'm writing papers about him. And
that's so funny.
So was obsessed, like it would be the right word for snowboarding.
What about it like really drew you in, do you think?
I just loved what it was. And even when just like being able to snowboard on a mountain to me was just seemed so cool. And when we were still in California in the desert, I knew that. I was like, well, we're going to Maine. Oh, I'm going to learn how to snowboard. And it's going to be my thing. And I always watched the X Games. I just loved action sports. I didn't play a lot of team sports. Hindsight, kind of regret maybe not doing that a bit more. Because I was always like the skater kid or the snowboarder through middle school and then surfed all through high school. Because then after middle school, we moved to North Carolina, about an hour north of Wilmington.
Okay.
And so I surfed all through high school. Still wanted to snowboard. And, you know, the cool thing about all of that, after you live around the whole country, you know, the West Coast, New England, the South, you kind of know where you want to be.
Right.
And
you've taste tested a lot
places. Of it. And pretty much since middle school, I was like, I'm going to get to Colorado or Utah, you know, where the snowboarding is amazing. And then as I got older, I was like, I don't really want to play by Utah's laws.
Yeah, you don't want to get a Mormon country.
Colorado seems like the move. And ironically, I was flipping through like a snowboard magazine in high school. And remember how they used to have those ads in the back?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, do you like to snowboard?
Yeah.
Do you want to go to college? I was like,
yes.
God. I was like, wait till my mom sees this one. And that was an ad for Colorado Mountain College in Steamboat Springs.
Wow.
Like, we have a ski and snowboard business program. I'm like, sounds perfect. Yeah. 2-year program, get to live in Steamboat, a fraction of the cost of like big college. Like, this is right up my alley. And then thankfully I had just godsend of grandma and grandpa, Nana and Papa. And they knew how bad I wanted to go to school at Steamboat at CMC. And I had to take a year off after high school and save money. And they're like, well, you keep saving money. And I was just working in a management position at a surf shop in a mall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they like, keep saving your money. We'll match it. And then we'll make sure that the remainder is met so you can get out to school and you can pay us back.
Wow. So that's awesome.
Thankfully for them, I was able to get to Colorado. And that was like what started the whole
once you were there
Colorado lifestyle. Yeah.
So before snowboarding, was there any other path you even were considering when you were thinking about, I mean, when we're young, we're not really thinking about like what we're going to do with our lives, you know, but like, was there any other path that spoke to you like that? Or was that when your decision was kind of made for you? You're like, okay, I don't know quite what, but I know I want to be in this world. Yeah.
I knew at a young age, I wanted to be in the snowboard industry and be affiliated with it.
Cool.
I mean, apart from the little kid, like, I want to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
It was snowboarding.
I wanted to be a Pokemon trainer. So
oh, sweet. I didn't even know that was a career.
Totally. I didn't either. And I don't, clearly I'm here, so I don't think it worked out. But, you know, I tried.
It's still a big selling brand. You can still get your feet wet there.
You never know.
Yeah. So that was always what I wanted. And then got to school out here, went on to work for Burton Snowboards out of their Colorado division.
Okay.
As like a brand merchandiser and tech rep here. Did that for 1 season, all while helping them out, interning with them during college.
Okay.
But after that 1 season, I just realized like, this is great, but I never moved to Colorado to really sell the dream. I moved to Colorado to live the dream.
Yeah, like I want to be snowboarding.
Yeah. And I was finding myself in Breckenridge all the time. I already had friends from college and Steamboat that had made the move to Breck. It was still like a well-respected mountain in the snowboard industry to call home. And I just loved what the town offered. And I remember very early on driving through that town and being like, I'm going to live here. Yeah. And now fast forward, it's 15 years later. Breckenridge has been
there ever since.
The longest place I've ever lived.
So you went there and haven't left until now. Yeah,
it was 09.
Wow.
09, around 09 that I got to town. And then, as you know, my lady Jordan, who started Linked by Lou, and myself have decided to make a big move to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, the new Breck. That's what I hear.
Yeah. Let it be known.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh, no,
OKC's
that's awesome,
a hot
though.
spot.
And I mean, Steamboat is like my dream place. Like, I love Steamboat so much. And I'm curious for both towns, because I'm new to Breck. I've only lived there a year. I've done ski shares in Frisco and Breck and Winter Park and kind of bopped around in those areas and traveled around Colorado in the last 4.5 years of living out here. But I know people talk about Denver changing a ton, the ski towns changing a ton. So what was the culture like between living in Steamboat and then moving to Breck?
Steamboat is a very magical place. It's Routt County. The Yampa River runs right through town.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a curse as it goes. When you live there, they call it the curse of the Yampa.
Uh-huh.
It always draws you back.
Oh.
And so to your point, I could see myself in the future with Jordan, the two of us being in Steamboat would be a dream come true.
That's kind of my manifested.
It is a beautiful
Steamboat.
place. It's farther from Denver, so it doesn't get that weekend warrior traffic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that are visiting the mountain to ski are generally flying in. There's a small airport right outside town. And the town is a little bit lower in altitude, so the seasons last a little bit longer. Your summer, your spring and fall tend to hang around a little bit longer than they do in Summit County. I mean, as you know, in Breckenridge, it's like summer and then it's snowing tonight.
Yeah. Literally.
All right, winter's here.
Yeah.
And so it's the mountain itself is, in my opinion, far superior.
I agree.
For a free ride mountain over Breckenridge. Breck's lure for me was the community in the town.
Right. And the extra curriculars, things to do in the town.
Exactly. And the Vail Resorts didn't have a stronghold on the town. They didn't own every business in town.
Right.
Frankly, I find myself, I would always go to Vail on big pow days to ride.
Yeah.
I love Vail as a mountain.
Right.
But as the town, it's limited. You kind of live and die by a bus schedule because most people are living in East or West Vail.
Right. It's more scattered, I feel than Breck. I like the setup of Breck. It's more concentrated there.
Absolutely. And Steamboat, it's a special place. The mountain I can't sing its praises enough. The place is incredible.
I mean, I feel we last season would just send it there they get dumped on.
Yeah, some of the best days of my life have been riding at Steamboat.
Oh, I mean, the trees, everything. It's so beautiful. And you don't get the weekend traffic. I mean, that's one of the gripes with Breck. It's so fucking crowded.
Yeah, it gets really crowded.
Has it always been like that? Since you moved there?
Yeah, I made my money for many years as a bartender in Breckenridge, over 10 years. And so I was really never jaded by the tourism. I knew it was my source of income.
Right.
And I'll get along with this brick wall here.
Yeah.
It was just me and the wall hanging out. So to that point, some people would work in the service industry and Breck be like, I'm so grumpy, all these people. I'm like, you're literally making your money off these people.
How else do you make money?
Find a different career path. So it never really bugged me too much, but there was times you're when it would die off, you're like, okay, it's my time. There's no one in town. All right, call the friends, let's go out. There's no one here.
Let's do something.
And then when COVID hit, it was eerie dead. Overnight. Vail Resorts was kicked out all their employees of employee housing. You could just stand in the middle of the street and there wouldn't be a single car, and you're like, this is eerie.
Well, I remember they were Airbnb rules. You couldn't even go to an Airbnb if you weren't in the same household or you weren't related or something like that. Because that's when I moved to Denver.
Okay.
Was COVID year.
Okay.
And I remember, I came from the South where they're COVID isn't real, dirt. And came here and obviously it is very real and it was taken more seriously. And I remember they were really strict rules even around coming to the mountain, and then you'd make reservations to go ski and all that stuff.
We were very busy after that original shutdown, and the town had all these rules and the social distancing.
Yeah.
And as a bartender in that, you're like, I see all these people have to stand 6 feet from them.
Yeah.
But we're open for business and we're all consolidated in a room in a restaurant. It's just wasn't all checking out for me.
Oh, it was so funny. You'd see the memes or the pictures of people at sporting events in the stadium, and you have to sit apart in the seats, but then the row below you're right next to someone. Yeah, you're what? It's
There's
so
a lot of illogical things I think with that.
Yeah,
I think the people's eyes were open. And not in a political way, just in a common sense way.
Just what the fuck?
What is going on?
Yeah,
this does not make any sense, and you should question things. And so that was an interesting time. I'll never forget when I moved to Breck. I was like, well, if shit ever hits the fan one day, I'm gonna live in the high country. I'll be able to play outside.
Yeah.
And then there was you guys shouldn't go out in the back country, and you shouldn't be, on the trails and this and that. And I was like,
what?
watch me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit in my house because the
How
TV says
logical.
to.
Yeah.
And so I had some of the, like, I remember halfway through it, I looked at my roommate and I was like, we're going to look back on this and consider it like one of the best times of our lives.
Totally.
Because we were in the backcountry daily. You know, it was like 3 or 4 days a week.
Wow.
Just split boarding up mountains and finding really fun lines and not taking too many big chances on like the lines we're riding and where we're going, but still getting out.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'd be sitting in the woods, you know, 10 feet from my buddy, eating our PB&J and like getting sunlight, getting exercise, moving the body, and not being on a bartender schedule, which is like, I never moved to Breck to really be on that schedule. So it was glorious.
Did you start bartending as soon as you got there?
No, first job in Breck, I think, I worked for a catering company.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we would have events and I was like kind of handling all the operations through the warehouse. So like packing vans and sending this one this way and this one to the different event, but also having a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
And having at this point networked myself through some quality friends in Boulder.
Oh, cool.
That all went to CU. And so I would spend those weeks off. I had a Honda Element, so it was my toaster. I love that little box.
Yeah.
I still love those cars.
That's like, so funny.
They are aesthetically not pleasing, but the functionality is real. And I remember my buddy had one in college. I was like, I'm going to get one of these.
Yeah, this is sick.
It was sick. It was like my little locker room on wheels. Like I would roll my bike in there. I put all the gear in there. I'd sleep in there when we were going to different mountains for snowboard trips. And so with that catering job, I would have these weeks off, like 1 to 2 weeks off at a time. And I would just go to Boulder, park it on the hill at my friend's house, roll the bike out. I wouldn't touch the car for like 2 weeks. Yeah. And I would just pedal around Boulder, tagging parties, meeting people, having like that big college experience because everything in Steamboat would shut down by like 10 p.m. Like, if you're hungry, you're going to Come and Go, the gas station, to get like a burrito. You know?
Steamboat's definitely sleepier.
It is. And I mean, now where I'm at in life, I'm like, I really appreciate that.
Totally.
But when you're in college age and you're like trying to meet people and be social, you're like, I'm going to meet some people in Boulder. And like once I did, like, then it became like I would stay with certain friends of mine there. And then my door was open for them in the winter.
Oh, fun.
But there was people at Boulder. They're like, how's class, Fantau? And I'm like, great. I'm not going to any class.
I'm just here.
So on Monday, you know, I'll be sleeping in on the couch while you're going to class.
But I'll see you when you get back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you think all the moving you did growing up helped you kind of, because it sounds like community is pretty important to you. Do you think it made it easier to find community wherever you moved?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I'm a very social driven person. And for a long time, very much a yes man. Like, let's do that. Fly by the seat of my pants, travel on a whim. If I had the money, if I didn't have the money, figure it out. So that I could make it happen. Always finagling at that age, you know, like, well, I'm not saying no. But very social. And as a military kid, you don't, and I'm sure there's a lot of military kids out there that can relate, like you don't have a choice. Like if you don't put yourself out there and get to know people when you move, you're going to be a loner and you're not going to have friends. And so you learn to become friends with a lot of people, a lot of different walks of life. You know, someone heard that we were moving to Oklahoma City, like, oh, well, you know, it's really religious and conservative. I'm like, well, I'm a bartender by trade for so many years. Like, I don't care. I don't really want to talk about that unless it's like, you know, we're close and we can have just like a healthy discussion. But as a bartender, there's two things you don't talk about at the bar, and it's religion and politics. So I'll get along with anybody. And even in that sense, as a bartender, I'd get along with people that I may not really like. It's just how it is. And so that definitely can be attributed to moving every 3 to 4 years as a kid.
No, I'm sure.
Because like I said, I'm social and you want friends, you know?
Well, and kind of like what you said about being open to like all the different walks of life and all the different kinds of people wherever you went. I'm sure that also naturally fed into when you're bartending in a mountain town. I mean, you see every kind of person, I'm sure, especially in that job, but also just like existing in that setting where it's so transient. People are coming and going, running away from things, running towards things, you know, trying to find themselves and well said. A lot of people trying to find themselves. The mountain towns are, if you're living there, they tend to be never land. So like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan, you know, like there's a lot of truth to that. Totally.
No one holds you accountable in those towns. There's books about this now.
I know.
I think there's one called Powdered Days. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'd have to look it up. The author writes about, you know, like Paradise Lost in these mountain towns. And so you navigate a lot of people and you see, they call them the freshman class. Every fall there's like quintessential like freshman age people moving into town. They're like, I can't wait for it to snow. It's like, do not say that again.
Yeah.
Like,
shut up.
I'm going to take the next 2 weeks of like the best weather I hope we can get before it does snow, because it's not going to turn off for 9 months. Yeah. There's a time for that. And it's not yet.
Yeah. So shut up.
But yeah, you meet a lot of different people. You navigate different walks of life. And, especially when you're making money by throwing parties for these people, you get along with a lot of them, or you try to as best you can.
So what do you think you learned from that? I mean, being a bartender, because you were at RMU that whole time, right?
No, I bartended. I did 3 years with RMU.
Oh, okay.
Rocky Mountain Underground.
Yeah.
And their business model is amazing. They're a ski brand that has like a tavern in every location. And they're an integral part of every community that they set up shop in.
Totally.
So Breck was the original. Whistler was the second location. And now they have a beautiful location in Truckee, California. That was a great place to finish out my time in the service industry. We had a lot of fun there. But before that, I was at a place called Modus in downtown Breckenridge. And during its heyday, that place was a force to be reckoned with. It was a beautiful back bar. There was like 50 cocktails in print on the menu. To this day, I've still never worked as hard as I worked in that place. Had a couple very close friends of mine, my roommate and my other buddy Sean, who really showed me the ways around that place. So did that for maybe 2.5 years. I found that, at least personally, there was a shelf life of like moving on after 2 to 3 years in a business.
In what way?
It's just something fresh. I get a little stir crazy.
Yeah.
And I like to mix it up. So, my first job in the service industry, I was slinging burgers as a server at Empire Burger in Breckenridge.
Oh, yeah.
And then just from then on, just kind of grew into bartending positions and moved out of that place onto the next, and did the nightclub scene for years. And
at Cecilia's?
Cecilia's was the first bar I bartended at.
No way.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. My buddy Johnny Mackey, he's the man. He is now a Avon police officer, and he was my first mentor in the bar.
Wow.
And he got like bartender of the year in a Denver publication. Like he's a badass. He put on shows, and he knew how to entertain people and make really sexy drinks while doing it. And so that ran its course. Cecilia's can be a stressful environment to be in. And then I went to Liquid Lounge for some years. Took a little breather after Liquid Lounge. I was pretty taxed on those late nights. At that point, I think I was driving Lyft.
Oh, nice.
It was like the early time of Lyft and Uber. And then my buddy was like, dude, you should come work with us at Modus. I'll show you how it's done over here. It was a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
Craft cocktails, high-end dining, but Prince money.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I was in the service industry for a while before I started.
Yeah, Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse.
Nice. You still have the dances?
To my core.
Like the line dancing?
Like in my subconscious.
I bet.
When the song comes on, it's like,
yeah. I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you're like, you said that you were there for high school and college. I was like, I bet she does those dances in her sleep.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I'll still have like a random, how you'll have like a nightmare about like missing class or something? I'll have a nightmare about like being on my shift and like forgetting to put someone's order in, and they ordered like a well done steak, and I'm like, fuck, like what do I do?
Oh man.
Yeah.
So happy that's
I'm like,
not reality.
Thank God. Yeah. I think I don't
No more biscuits. No more biscuits.
No more fresh baked bread. I mean, I could still tell you like the spiel. Like I remember all of that. It's like ingrained. And when I started making jewelry, I was about to start training to be the bartender there, because I had done like hostess, server. I was going to do bartending. And then I found that I was making more money making necklaces, because I started with jewelry and then started doing the apparel a couple years ago. And I could be like laying at the pool with my friends making necklaces. And I was like, this is sick. So I quit Texas Roadhouse. I cried when I left. It was very, very emotional for me.
It's a big time of your life.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I learned so much. And I feel like also in the service industry, you learn so much about how to deal with people, your patience is tested. You understand the ins and outs of like different walks of life and different people that come through. And I would sit down in the booth with people and just like talk to them, and like you hear their stories, and it's fascinating.
Yeah. Anyone that starts in the service, you hear it all the time. Like everyone should work.
Absolutely.
At least like 6 months
and if
in
you
the service
don't,
industry.
it shows.
100%.
Oftentimes.
But it makes you very good at customer service. So whatever you take that into your own business or your own ventures, if you decide to go that route, you have all these priceless skill sets that are already established. And you can put to good use.
Yeah. And as far as clientele, I mean, what was that like? Like all the jobs that you worked and all the things, like, was there anything that you feel like you took away from that experience? Like that you learned from people coming in or the conversations you had?
The big thing is back to the Never Never Land thing in the mountain towns. It's not just Breckenridge. It's just about any mountain town.
Yeah.
No one's going to hold you accountable. And everyone's coming in on vacation. So it's always a party.
Yeah.
Monday night, this is happening. Like, it's Monday night, man. Like, I'm trying to sleep.
Days don't exist though.
They don't.
It's very different.
The Monday through Sunday regimen is not real. Now with the advent of remote work post-COVID, you see a little bit more of it, but that's a different story. As far as you just have to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And I learned that, and I realized that, and no one is going to check you. And it's a bit dark, but to my point there, that all these mountain towns reside in what's called the suicide belt.
Yeah.
And so the suicide rate is really high, and I almost became numb to it.
Wow.
I lost so many friends over the years.
Really?
Or acquaintances, or just like Breck's a small community. So you may not even be friends with that guy or that gal, but you know them, you see them, and then you catch word that they're not with us anymore. And that became like, I even lost my roommate years ago.
Wow.
He had left Colorado, and it might have been about a year ago. I hadn't talked to him in a while, and that had happened to him. He took his own life, and he was my RA in college in Steamboat.
Wow.
And so I think, talk to your friends, check in on your people is all I can say in regards to that. And even like you hear it all the time, like some of the happiest people are the ones that you don't know what anyone's got going on in their life.
Course.
And that was something I learned in the mountain town in Breckenridge for so many years, and in a bar, because you are serving alcohol, and some people are there to numb whatever's going on in their life.
Right.
And most of them in Breckenridge are there to party. But, your regulars, not all of them, but some people they're trying to numb the pain of something that's going on in their life. And so those were aspects of it that I picked up on over the years, and to like let my people know I love them.
Yeah.
Be open and like have a revolving door, call me if you need to.
Right.
But also just like inquire, like, you doing okay?
Right.
Is life good? And so those were some life lessons that I took from being a bartender and meeting all sorts of different type of people.
Well, and I've seen there's a ski film that just came out, I think, about this, about like the darkness of mountain towns and living there. And
I'm not familiar. And
the suicide belt. It's by, I can't remember which, like a few brands like sponsored it, like maybe Burton or Spider or something. And they're doing like a tour of the film. If I find it, I'll send it to you. Yeah. Which, I mean, as someone that's new to the mountain culture and also coming in a completely different way, like I work within the community, like at Magical Scraps and doing pop-ups and stuff, but I'm not in the service industry. I'm not in the ski industry there to a degree. Like I'm not a liftie or anything like that. Right. So I'm in the community in a different way. So I haven't experienced that because so many of my friends are remote workers, and I have friends that work in town too, but it's like, it's a mixture. So I'm not seeing that dark side as much.
Yeah,
and
there's definitely an underbelly that exists. And that's every mountain town, not just Breckenridge.
Right. And that's kind of what the documentary says. And I guess I'm curious because when I saw that, I was shocked because it is also like, as someone that's so new, a freshman, so to speak, like it's such a vacation town. And to your point, like I get so burnt out during ski season. I mean, our houses are revolving doors. We have visitors constantly, and I'm a yes man as well. Yeah. So I'm always like, yeah, come on. And I'm always inviting people in because I want everyone, to have fun and visit. And then I'm like drinking or not sleeping or like just partying. And because I own my own business too, I don't have a normal schedule. So people just assume that I can always take off and do whatever. And I'm like, to ski? Yes, I will. I'll fuck off from work. But
that's why you live there.
Yes, absolutely. But I see that, but I guess I haven't seen that darker side of it as an observer or like in anyone within my community. So I'm curious, like what you think the correlation with that is from your own personal experiences. And I'm also so sorry that you've seen that. I mean, that's awful.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's, I'm sorry that, you to like witness it, you feel sorry for these people, and it just sucks at the end of the day, but there's no accountability. Yeah. And can be paradise lost. Now, these places are absolutely stunning and amazing places as long as you remember why you're there, There's a lot of people that probably could have been like professional skiers or professional snowboarders, but the party scene takes over in these places where there is no accountability, and you can party every night if you want to. And it's also connected. It's kind of ingrained in the culture over the years. And I think there's a changing of the tide now, but that's definitely an accurate assessment for decades. Après, is literally the art of
Partying.
drinking and partying after you're done on the mountain. And that can exist daily. So National Geographic wrote a really good article about it. And that's when I just kind of took more note of it and was aware of it. It's a great article, would recommend it. I don't know the name of it, but you could look up, like National Geographic ski towns and suicide rates. And you'd find it on Google, but they make some interesting points. One is, people move there for not your average lifestyle or to be a ski bum. But what happens when you don't realize that you're now almost 40 and you're still a ski bum?
Yeah.
And half of your life in theory you've had a great time.
Right.
But what are you going to do when you haven't established a career or a path forward that does set you up for a nice future? So I'm very fortunate to have amazing people in my life, and taught me the wherewithal to have that longer path vision. But a lot of people don't have that at times, that end up in that predicament. And then they're not making money. Ski towns cost more than they have ever cost.
Hence the Oklahoma City move.
It really much, very much so. And Jordan and I wanted to get ahead of the ball. And to do that, this is what we need to do right now for us. And so unfortunately, we leave a place that we love. But with change comes great opportunity, new opportunity. And if there's something hard going on in your life, everyone that I look up to as far as influences or mentors, authors, I always say walk through that door, take that path, do what's hard, and you're generally going to be better for it.
Right.
So Colorado's not going anywhere. We can always come back.
No, of course. You have to.
Yeah.
I hope to not go anywhere either. Yeah.
We'll be back often to visit. So.
Yeah. No, and you keep saying the no accountability thing. And I guess I've never thought about that, because truly, it's a cliche, but you are who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
So, I feel like time doesn't exist in the same way. Age doesn't exist in the same way. There's not like the social hierarchy is how you ski and what you're skiing. It's not about
that person's really good on the mountain.
Oh, totally. And I was talking to you and Jordan about this. My current boyfriend, luckily I fell in love with him outside of ski season, but he can't do a backflip on skis. He owns a house, but
That's okay.
But you don't hut cliffs. So what's, you know what I mean? You get this skewed version of reality because it is your reality.
Yeah.
And you're in this snow globe. It's like being at summer camp, but it's all year round. And
very much so.
Yeah. And I've gotten a taste of that, and I've tried to straddle, even just being there for a year and doing these short-term ski leases and stuff. I try to always straddle reality. When I'm going back home or when I'm going to all these weddings and I still have a bunch of friends in the Southeast and pursuing a totally different lifestyle, I try to always stay cognizant of taking these things and then also remembering what life is like outside of that. And it's funny too, because I found myself I'll go on a bachelorette mid ski season in Charleston, and I'm talking about skinning baldy or something. And everyone's like, what's that? And I'm like, wait, this doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Why am I talking about where the next storm's coming and pulling up open snow when I'm at the beach? Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? It's just it gets in your head. Yeah,
it's a bubble.
It is. It's such a bubble, but I've never thought about the no accountability piece. I think that's how it's easy to fall into. And everyone's a kid. Everyone's just doing things to play outside, trying to call out of work to play outside.
Yeah.
They're working to live, not living to work, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But
that's how I've lived my life.
Yeah. And that's why I always hope to live it. Yeah. Serving that inner child and doing the things that you love and trying to find a way to then make a living off of that while you're still enjoying your life.
Yep.
I think is always my goal too.
Yeah. You also can make a choice. You can choose to be around a party scene in the mountain towns. You can also choose to wake up early and do yoga. And there is an amazing community for that. It is what you want it to be, but it's very easy to slip into a path of no accountability and not checking yourself. But yeah, also on the flip side, there is a lot of amazing people who have started businesses up there.
Yeah.
Who do really well in that regard. Who have started families and make it work. So at the end of the day, it's up to you.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
Yeah. It's your path.
Which is always the way it is. But up there, you really have to consciously be aware of that.
No, and I think that's a good reminder. And speaking of businesses and being successful, you're one of those success stories, I would say.
We're getting started.
No,
absolutely.
I feel like you have totally exploded and taken over the scene.
I appreciate that.
Seeing you at pop-ups, and I have friends that have your hats. I feel like you've truly made your mark in Breckenridge, and it's cool. The culmination of, you getting there and being plugged into the community and then growing within the community. I think that's why you've been so successful too, is because of who you are
Yeah.
and how you make
Breckenridge
people
was
feel.
very integral in my success and my community. I definitely would agree with that.
Right. But it's not just Breckenridge, it's you and Breckenridge. Like you can't just write that off. Like I think you are such a special person within the community, and you are so loved and
thank you.
Commandeered in the community. And just like you say, like being a bartender and wanting to make people feel a certain way, checking on your friends, having a revolving door, and always being that person for people. I think then when you started your business, you probably saw that flood of support.
Absolutely.
From all of those years of being there for everyone else, which is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It was, I just try to treat people the way I want to be treated at the end of the day. And I think that goes a long way. It's very simple, but it's not always as easily executed.
Yeah, for sure. And so what led you to start your company?
Well, my girlfriend is a very successful entrepreneur in her own right.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, we met. I was her bartender. And that was, the age-old story.
Love story.
Yeah. And
at RMU?
Yep, at RMU.
Where love is found, of course.
Yeah. You hope so.
Yeah,
from time
of
to
course.
Time.
You go in with the hope every time.
And she knew at that point in my time as a bartender, it was running its course. It was a great career. It served me really well. It allowed me to make good money, do what I wanted, which generally was to spend that money chasing waves around the world, going on surf trips. And because why would I go on a snowboard trip when I live there? But it also, I was a little frustrated, and I felt like I was called to do something more in my life. And for many years, I knew that if I wanted to find the success, I think that was going to make me really happy. It needed to be, I was going to either be selling real estate or my own business. And quite frankly, like there's a lot of real estate agents in Summit County. And I also never really wanted to do that. People are like, you'd be great at real estate. Like, well, I appreciate that. But I also one of my flaws is that I don't know if it's a flaw. I just hate being connected.
Yeah.
I really do. It's something I need to be better at for my current business, quite frankly. But
what do you mean by that? Like hate being connected?
When I worked in the snowboard industry, my boss told me, he's like, 24 hours. You got 24 hours to return those emails, and ideally same day, give them a call back, and I've just never been great at that.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get better at it. But I knew if you were going to go into real estate, you're glued to the phone.
Yes.
You live and die by your email account.
Yeah.
And that just was never a life that I found was going to bring me a lot of joy.
Totally.
So back to the point though, how did I get Deuces Wild Hat Co off the ground? Jordan knew that I wanted to do something else. And it was that time for me. And she's like, do you ever think about, like shaping hats? And I was like, no.
Was that just like a totally random suggestion? Like, were you into hats? Was she?
Yeah. She's like, well, you're good with your hands. And I just kind of made a joke and wrote it off. And then I started looking online at YouTube at people making hats, so like millinery, like from scratch, starting with just felt bodies. And so I see the process. I'm watching videos for about a month, and I told her, I was like, I really gravitated to that, and I've been looking at these videos, but I want to get into it, but I need a mentor. So she connected me with someone that had made a hat for her. And I talked with him, and he connected me with his dad. And so they're a 3-generation hat shaping family here.
Wow.
And that was Parker Thomas that she connected me with. And then he's like, you should call my dad, Ryan. Your timing is impeccable. He wants to start teaching people how to shape hats.
It's the universe. It's crazy.
And so then I ended up doing a hut trip and just finishing up a hut trip in the backcountry for a couple nights. And I'm in the parking lot, and I get this call. And he's like, hey, Ryan, this is Glenn Orms. Here you want to start making hats? I was like, yes, sir. And you're calling me.
Yeah.
I expected I was going to have to beat down your door. So I was on cloud 9. There was no one doing hats at that point in Breckenridge.
When was this?
What year? About a year and a half ago, probably 18 months ago now, if I had to ballpark it. And he's like, well, let's get you down here and we can chat. And so that was the beginning of it. And so I met with Glenn, and God bless him. He's a great man, great family. I love the Orms family. They've been nothing but hospitable. And one thing I was concerned about early on was I wanted to make sure that there was full transparency. You never want to screw someone over.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that he knew that I wanted to start my own business.
Right.
But that was totally okay. And, the beautiful thing in all of it is he is also my supplier. So,
oh, no way.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Well, and I'm sure someone to that caliber, and it's something you learn from being in business for a while, because Jordan and I have talked about this too. You always have to keep your head on a swivel. There's always going to be people copying you or competing, whatever. But if you just focus on your own success or if you mentor someone else, it's all cyclical. Like it's not going to take away from your success.
Yeah. And you give your true self to the craft. And I think you're going to be okay.
Exactly.
Funny story to that point, that phone call I got from Glenn. I'm with my buddy and he builds homes up in Summit County and we're driving back to Breck and I'm like, man, this just happened. I got this phone call. This is incredible. I'm going to learn how to shape hats. This is going to be so awesome. He's like, Fantau, I really hate to bust your bubble, but I'm like building an addition for this gal's house who is starting a hat business in Breckenridge. So I had like 2 hours of like, it's going to be me. And so I was like, what?
You're like, no.
I was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no, I'm pretty positive. Like, she's opening a hat shop. And so that was a very quick lesson. And like, there's healthy competition. And the gal and her business partner, I've only chatted with them a couple times, but they're super great people. They're really friendly and they're in a different lane. Like they are milliners. So they're going to make you a hat from scratch. Okay. We're going to shape you a hat on site and they have their own brick and mortar. I land in the event space. Right. We do pop-ups. Totally. I owe all the credit to my girlfriend for that. Her business thrives through pop-ups. Right. And by doing so, I still have my freedom. I can still travel when I need to or I want to. We get to choose what we want to do. We don't have to be open 5 days a week. And you don't have that overhead. So we were able to find success early on and we can accommodate more customers and clientele. Like a hat maker isn't going to be able to do a wedding welcome party. Right. A hat maker isn't going to be able to do a corporate event. And that's where we land. And so on a good day, we can do a hat for a client in like 20 minutes. Wow. And we start with just making sure it's a perfect fitting hat. We have 3 racks of inventory that we carry on site for any event. We bring all the finishings, hat bands, feathers, we brand on site, but we make it an experience and we bring you in and we talk about the fit of the hat because everyone will walk up and like, in what is almost a year and a half, I've had one customer come up and go, I have an average head. Like no one says that. Yeah. And the guy said that. I was like, what? It's always like people come up, they're like, man, I just have like the smallest head in the world. Or man, my head it's weird. Yeah. Or I have the biggest head. I hear that all the time. And they're like, they don't have the biggest head. You're like, okay. I have 2 size 8 hats and I don't think I've sold them in over a year, for that one person. It's pretty average. Yeah. So we start with making sure the hat fits them great. And then it's an experience. Like, let's talk about what colors you like or what you want to do with this hat. Here's some options. And then we just go to town. God, make them their own custom hat and then on to the next, and hopefully they tell their friends about it. And we also do private parties, which is a lot of fun. And we're very welcoming to all people and all clientele. At this point, the only thing I think I turned down was an event that was just way too big for us at this point. We'd like to get to something that big. It was a potential event during the Kentucky Derby in Kentucky. Wow. And they wanted to do, I was like, in theory, how many hats do you see going out in like this 3-hour pre-party? Like maybe, 100? And I'm like, we would have to scale like 5x to get to that as quickly as was needed for the event. Just shell it out like that, yeah. But we'll get there. Yeah. And I believe in slow growth and it allows us sustainable. Yeah. We've been doing everything, I think, pretty well. There's always room for growth. And I'm a perfectionist. So I think like just jumping off that cliff and taking that chance was like, that was hard. But once you do it, you're like, okay, I'm going to get better every day with this. And I think that's how a lot of growth happens is like those new opportunities that you're like, okay, like maybe I can't do that right now, but let me figure out while I'm growing, like how to get there. Yeah. Or sometimes just saying yes to things and then like saying, yes, I can do it. And then figuring it out in the background. Be like, okay, fuck, like how am I actually going to do this? Yeah. A lot of that credit is due to the Orms family. So Glenn and Parker, their family operates in a realm of, we'll do it. We'll figure it out, and I sometimes overthink like the steps necessary. And I think having that mindset and appreciating that mindset and embracing it in the last year of business has been integral to our success. Just saying yes, like we're going to make this work, and it always works out. It always works out. It's also helped with this move that we're doing, like one box at a time, like check this box, next box. And personally, I don't try to zoom out too much. Like I know what the end goal is, but if I can just focus on the next goal in front of me and the next goal after that, we're going to get there. Right. And it's going to get done. Right. And it it's going to be what it's going to be, you know? So just say yes and take the chance, and good things will happen if you're willing to take that risk.
Yeah. Well, and I think also being a perfectionist in your line of work isn't the worst thing. Like you want people to walk away with this amazing hat and this amazing experience. So you've clearly thought a lot about it, and you're not like trying to grow or take things just for the sake of the money or just for the sake of the growth. You're being really methodical and thoughtful about it, which I think,
if you're going to spend your money with me, I'm going to make sure that you're obsessed with your hat.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
You love it. To the point where I've had a couple people like, man, this hat just doesn't fit right. I'm like, just give it back.
Yeah.
We'll get you in a bigger one.
Yeah, let's do it again.
I want you to wear that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I want you to love it. And then hopefully that, they let their friends know that we're going to make sure that they love their hat.
And so how long were you in the mentorship for before you started on your own?
Maybe close to like 4 months with Glenn, but I reside in Breckenridge or was, and Glenn's in Denver. And so I would come down. Jordan's been in Denver since we've been dating. And so I would spend like 2 or 3 nights a week with him for a few hours, learning how to shape hats and just going through the process at his shop. And then, a few months down the road, he's like, you're good, man.
Yeah.
Like, go start your business.
You're ready to
call
go.
me if you need me, and so that was great. And I was really fortunate to get like that. I got a lot more time, I think, than the average client of his that's trying to learn how to shape hats.
Yeah.
Because he's really molded his own business. And, I believe Glenn's in his 60s now. And this new path for him of educating and teaching was very much a new path when I met him. So we just kind of like guinea pigged it with him
together. Yeah.
Yeah. And he would ask for feedback and I'd give it, but I also was very fortunate enough to get extra time.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Which was great.
So were you learning not only like the physical process of molding hats, but also like any business side stuff, or not so much?
A little bit.
Yeah.
He was there to help and answer any questions as far as how that looks and what is necessary to start the business. At one point I was like, I just paid this company. They set up the LLC. And honestly, I got a lot from Jordan there. She's like, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, it costs hundreds of dollars. Like it costs $1, I think, for the Secretary of State's office to like establish the LLC. Yeah. Just do the work, It's like, okay, okay, you're right. I'll just do the work, and I'm not even generating income yet, so I should probably save that money from the business. And you're better for it. And it's just a lot of reading and understanding and jumping through hoops and to get everything established. But once it's up, and you're good to go. So my last hindrance was figuring out taxes, because I was convoluting all my accounts. Yeah. My personal account with the business account. And then I finally sat down with a good accountant, and she's like, stop doing that now.
This is bad.
She's like, you opened a business checking and savings account. Now use it solely for business savings and checking. Yeah. And you got a credit card for your business, but it's crossing into personal. She's like, stop doing all that. Yeah. So that was a lesson. And I filed for an extension because I was like, we need a little bit more time. Yeah. And finally, actually, down to the last wire, just got all of that figured out 2 weeks ago. So I had to sit down, which is very hard for me to do, for a long period of time and just highlight everything on those statements for 5 different accounts. Oh my God. That was potential business. So I had like a thick stack of paperwork, and when it was done, I was like,
yeah, thank God.
So great. I'm so glad this is over.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys need me, just call me. I just turned in all the paperwork to the accountant. I'm like hoping we can catch a return on the first year.
And don't get any calls.
Yeah.
Other than good news.
Yeah. Oh, you got money coming back. Sweet.
Yeah.
That's what I like
can
to
you
hear.
take another look at this? You're like, I can't actually. I'm done here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest part for me, I think, with business. I used to say that like I'm not business minded. I think I am business minded. It's the red tape of it all, like the taxes and the different accounts. My dad does all my accounting. He's an engineer, but like has taught himself
Shout
since I started.
Dad.
No, dad is the fucking best. My whole family is like involved in my business.
That's
like
good though.
It's amazing.
It's a family affair.
It is. And my mom just gives me unsolicited advice on things that I didn't fucking ask. Love her, but yeah. And my dad does all of my And my dad does all of my accounting, but it's the same thing because I'm always losing things. And I have a business credit card, a personal credit card. There's Venmos that pop ups, it all gets mixed together. And my dad will be like, what is on your business card? I see something at Rocky Mountain Underground for $150. And I'm like, you can put that under personal. Like, I'm just always like switching things. And he's just like, oh my fucking God. Like, we have like a once a month like meeting where he'll like go through all of my charges. And it is mortifying going through that with your father, like having to explain different things, like what these things mean.
Shotgun Willie's.
Yeah.
Come on here.
So
that's a gun and ammo shop.
Yeah.
So I'm learning how to shoot, Dad.
interesting for our relationship for sure. We've survived it somehow, but I think that's where I have the most trouble too, because I love like the pop-up side of things and the creative side of things and the social media and all that. But then it comes to like the nitty-gritty and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it was really stressing me out because I needed to get all that in right before the move.
Yeah.
And then it was like once it was off my shoulders, I was like, oh, I can focus on this.
Thank God.
Now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I got it out of the way. You know, one thing Jordan and I talk about that she's mentioned before and we really believe in is if it is taking up too much of your time and you don't feel like it's a skill set that you're really great at, like outsource it, do what you're good at. And then just if it's going to save you a lot of time, you know, pay to have it done. And that's just where I'm landing on taxes. Yeah. And so my accountant's like, it'll be much easier next year after this is said and done.
Right.
Start doing X, Y, and Z. Everything's going to be gravy.
Right.
Just got to pay her for that advice.
Yeah. At some point you do.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I'm the same way. I mean, you got to save your time and your energy for the things that fulfill you when you get to a point and you can pay someone to do it. It hurts sometimes to pay someone for something you could technically do, but yeah, gives you more time back, which time is like the most precious thing.
Yeah. And it's fleeting and it's moving faster and faster every year.
I know. And especially with the business. I mean, your work is your life and your life is your work and everything, especially when you're first starting.
Yeah.
I'm always refining my footing because I'm always starting new ventures. And so I'm like, okay, how can I fit this into my life while still having a life and my family and my friends and all the things that are important to me? Have you found that hard at all, like with starting your business, or not so much?
In what sense? And just
like, I guess in the balance of it all, like you're in your first year. So how have you kind of landed currently?
I've always flown by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
We're working on that. And now that we're moving and we're going to have a place together and we don't know a lot of people, I'm quite frankly looking really forward to being able to find a routine. Yeah. And really break those old constraints as like a bartender schedule of like, I just sleep in and start my day when I want. And that kind of schedule doesn't like serve me anymore. And I really want to become a morning person, which if you know me is like,
impossible.
But it is possible. I know I can do it. And I think having a house and a fresh start in a place where we don't know anybody is going to make that a lot easier. But we got it done the first year. Finding that balance was tricky. I was also doing like 1 day a week. I'm still bartending. But being an events-based business, you don't have to be in a brick and mortar every day. Right. And so that was huge.
Always something different.
You know, our setup is lengthy. It takes about an hour and a half, if not an hour 45, to really have like everything dialed. You know, setting up the tent. And, you have to protect the hats. So I've got 3 racks of inventory that all have to have weather covers on these racks in case the rain moves in. And like Summit County is...
You never know.
You never know. And I remember the first time it happened, I was stressing. Yeah. And then now this summer, any weather moves in, I'm just like,
whatever.
I'm gonna go get a coffee while this blows over.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So that was progress, but finding the balance between, you know, just having different things to do with the business. Yeah, it was very new when it first started, obviously, but answering DMs and like, oh, I haven't checked my business email in days. Like, we should probably do that.
We'd probably look at that. Yeah.
And so just finding that, you know, rhythm and just finding that balance was it took a little time. It definitely wasn't like overnight where I was just dialed, and it's still not. You know, we'll continue to get better at certain things, again with the following up and communicating with people. That's part of the business.
You know? It is, unfortunately.
I'm definitely trying to be more present with that and aware. I'm really sorry, you know, this is what's been going on the last week. I'm sorry it took me a few days to get back to you. But we'd love to work with you.
Yeah. I swear I'm not ignoring you.
Yeah, it's really, I'm not. It's not being as proactive as I should be.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a learning curve though. These are all different aspects that you weren't doing prior. So do you think you want to do stuff in Oklahoma City now?
Yeah, we're looking to blow up Oklahoma City.
Hell yeah.
With Deuces Wild Hat Co. We're really excited. I mean, I am, and being an events business, I keep repeating that, but it you know, it gives us a lot of freedom. Yeah. And Oklahoma City is a big market and a big city coming from a small mountain town.
Totally.
So we definitely want to partner with some businesses in OKC. There's also Tulsa, an hour and a half down the road.
Yeah, true.
Dallas, Fort Worth is 3.5 hours south. Okay. I love to surf. Waco. Waco Surf is just over 4 hours away. That would be a dream partnership if we could do hats for events at Waco Surf and also maybe score a couple waves.
Yeah, of course.
In the middle of Texas while we're there. So there's a lot of opportunity at our fingertips, all within like a few hour drive.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we're excited about that.
I feel like the The good thing about Breck, though, I mean, it is so much smaller, but you get so many tourists from all over the world. So I'm sure that's helped your growth in like different, not only locally, but also in different places.
Yeah, people are in vacation mode, you know, and the Breckenridge Sunday Market is a weekly Sunday market in Breckenridge during the summer. And I owe that operation a lot of credit because that's where I really had my start. And was like last summer, I just committed to the whole summer with them. So I was like, I'll do every Sunday.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well. High traffic area. Everyone's on vacation. Even if you're not a hat person, you'll feel like you need to be when you're in Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we would take the time with those people and dial them in. Like, this is what's working for you. You know, this is, if you want a hat, we'll make the right one for you. But to your point, it's vacation, and a lot of people are on it, and they want to have that good time, and they want to have that memory and that product that like spoke to them. Like, that's my hat from Breckenridge.
And you remember the day that you got it.
Yeah. And so we had a lot of that. I think we might have to be a little bit more selective in what we choose to do once we get to Oklahoma City. Like, if a used car dealership calls me up and wants me to set up in the lot for the day, I might have to think that one over. But there's also a lot of opportunity, and the city's on a boom. It really seems that way. I think a lot of people are headed that way. I mean, it's below median on average home price across the country. So you can get, your dollar goes far there. Right. And we were really looking forward to partnering with newer businesses and businesses that seem like a right fit for us, and doing events. You know, I think they have a farmer's market. And I'm not 100% on this, but I think it runs all year there.
Oh, cool.
You know, so there's going to be opportunity to set up where we're not limited by snowfall.
Right.
Which
like
was
70% of the year.
Yeah, which was a thing, you know, in Colorado last winter, everything has to be indoors at that point.
Yeah.
Like, we would love to pop up, but we need indoor space. We're not going to do this in the snow.
Yeah.
So, and concerts, rodeos, markets, events, we're excited.
Well, what do you hope when you're meeting these people and giving them the experience, like when they walk away, like how do you hope that they feel?
Just like we took that extra time to give them an experience and not to feel rushed.
Yeah.
We get feedback from people that get hats all over, and sometimes that feedback isn't great from places that cost 5-6 times what we charge for a hat.
Just more transactional, or
very much so.
Yeah.
Like, don't bother me, but give us your money. And that's not Deuces Wild Hat Co. We'll take the time, and we want people to realize that, acknowledge it, and just feel the love. We're not a flyby operation.
Yeah.
We're here for the long haul, and you can always reach out. And if people have come to me with a couple things, like this gentleman, Jack, brought me his dad's hat, and it was probably from like the 1925 to 1935, somewhere in that. It was an old Stetson. It was a relic and an heirloom. He brought it to me. He's like, "Oh, can you do this, this, and this?" And I was like, I looked at it. I was like, "Man, this thing is like, you don't want to do any of that. Like, I could probably get these stains out, but then that part of the hat's going to have like a fresh look. You know, it's just like, to my point, if I can't do something for somebody, I'm just going to let them know, like, we'll send you to the right direction." Or in Jack's case, it's like, "Hey man, this is a beautiful hat. It fits you
shouldn't
great.
do anything.
Like, wear it for what it is."
Yeah.
And we just want people to just to feel the realness and not be afraid to approach us, tell us what they want.
Right.
You're like, "I don't know, I want done to the hat at all." Like, you have so many options here for finishings. I'm like, well, let's talk through it. You know, let's fit the hat first. Let's see what shape of the brim matches your face structure, and go from there. And then what colors do you like? What do you want a loud hat? Do you want like a minimalist hat? You know? So just,
that must be cool.
Just connecting with our clientele is our goal.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, we want you to feel the love.
Well, I mean, also like echoing that experience that your customers have said that they've had at other places, and like the transactional feel, I feel like that industry, especially the really overpriced ones, can also act as if they're like above you in a way, like you're intimidated in the space.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're doing the opposite. Like, we're all on the same level. Let's like make this together.
Yeah. We try to make it approachable for everyone.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in a certain tax bracket to get a hat.
Yeah. Which is amazing. And I think that's filling a gap.
Yeah.
That didn't exist before.
Yeah. We really found ourselves in our own lane, which has been
awesome.
great, because there is healthy competition, and, you know, I don't see a lot of competition as a threat. And it's just good to be able to see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Before I even started my own business, I started following hat makers all around the world. And then people would come up to me like, "Oh my goodness, are you shaping a hat with steam? Like, that's a lost art." And in my head, I'm like, I follow like 100 people that do this online, but that's because you're seeking it out.
Yes.
You're finding it.
It's different.
Then your algorithm is preaching to you every hat shaper around the world.
Yes.
But it's cool because it's still I wanted to land in a niche, something that was a little untapped. In my years at working in the snowboard industry and just always being a salesman, I worked in, surf and skate shops through high school. And it was, to be successful, you need to hit a niche.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool book called Chasing Cool. And it's a small, easy read marketing book. And it talks about the most successful people in respective industries and how they got it. And Grey Goose, before they sold, they were the first to frost a glass bottle.
Wow.
And they also shipped all of their bottles in wooden crates. So like bringing it back to this era that didn't exist. And then the guy, forgive me for not knowing his name, but he was also going to like philanthropic, I think I just massacred that word.
Philanthropic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Events and offering his vodka for free.
Wow.
So then people that have a ton of money are now associated with drinking Grey Goose, and they want it.
Wow.
And so just like the way that world works of just like these little nuances that you can do that can really set you above the rest of your competition.
Right.
And elevate your ability to give a very unique product to your clientele. Well, it's funny how it's just like these little things sometimes that like change the whole game.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, people talk about oversaturation all the time, but I think as long as you're bringing in something unique to the space, and to your point, sometimes your algorithm can make you feel like everyone's doing this thing and it kind of gets in your head.
Right.
And then you have people in amazement, like, what, how are you doing this? And I mean, for an outsider looking in, I feel that way. Like, holy shit. Like this is so
social media.
Cool. Yeah.
To make you feel some type of way.
I know.
That is like
always
inaccurate.
All the time. I mean, it's a lie.
I call the phone the devil device.
Yeah.
You got to put that thing down.
I mean, that's what I hate about, that's like a gripe with my job, is like, I can never like delete Instagram because it's so based on social media. And I'm so thankful for social media for what it's given me, but like, damn, is it draining? And it's like the first thing that I want to nix when I'm in like a weird spot or not feeling good,
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because once I got to Breckenridge and I stepped away from working a job within the sales side of the snowboard industry, I still really wanted to be connected to it. And I'd shot photos in high school. So I started shooting a lot of photography and I put like blood, sweat, and tears into my Instagram page, like organic growth. I don't know if you remember when people would like grid photos.
Oh yeah.
Well, I would follow that and I was like losing followers, but it was still chronological in the feed. And I'm like, this is the cool. People like, your feed looks so good. But then they'd be like, some people I would lose them. And I'm like, why did that? That's like a friend of mine. What are you doing? Like, am I not shooting good photos? Like, no, dude, but like 8 photos popped up in my grid, in a row. And I had to go to your page to see the photo. And I'm like, is that the gripe? Like, to see something cool. So at that point, though, I was spending so much time. I'd wake up in the morning and like faithfully post something and put a thoughtful caption to it. And, I don't think I've actually posted on my personal page beyond stories in years. I just but the ironic part is now that I have a business, that would behoove me more to be more proactive in that regard. But after, I just kind of like fell off on that. I need to get back to it because I think I appreciated what it was. And particularly I use Instagram more than anything. I think I just appreciated those early days of like analyzing people's photography and seeing how they got certain shots and like having the chronological feed, not an algorithm per se. And I think once it just kind of became like, over the years, you're just scrolling and now there's ads. So you even scroll faster. It's like, I see more sponsored pages now than I see of the people I choose to follow. And
I know.
I think all of that just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth towards like excessive use of the app, for when it was like, you got to see what your friends were doing more and you appreciated the content as opposed to like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool.
And you could just scroll forever versus, do you remember it would like stop you?
You'd hit the wall.
You're like, okay, you're done seeing everything.
You would hit the wall. You're like,
and you're like, oh fuck, I'll
get outside now.
Like, okay, now I'll go outside. Now I can put my phone away. No, I mean, that I remember when I first started, it was still chronological when I started my business on Instagram. And it affected my business so much when they changed everything. And that's what, they try to do that. It's all a game. Just
it's probably pretty stressful for you.
Pay for, their advertising and stuff and just put more money into it because they realized people were making money off of their platform and they weren't. And they're like, they're going to switch it up.
They always knew they were going to get more commercialized. They always knew that they were going to offer advertisements and ad revenue is huge for any social media site. I think it's like the lifeblood of them. So it's going to get to that point. It's kind of like where we're at now. I should put more time and effort into it. But
all in time, though. You don't have to do everything all at once.
No, but we get a lot of just being out there and meeting people and word of mouth is like, there's still something to be said about that.
I cannot agree more. And I think that comes back to what you were saying about the slow growth and the sustainable growth. I mean, I think doing it that way with all the smaller experiences and the conversations and the people you're meeting over your lifetime, and also since having your business, is what's going to pillar you up and up and up. And you'll just slowly grow that way in a way that people feel like they're also a part of because they've met you and they've done the thing.
Right. And the company has a lot of opportunity for growth in other directions.
Yeah.
You know, Deuces Wild as just a brand name, I think is great. It came from playing progressive rummy with Nana
Nice.
when I was a kid. Yeah.
Love it.
And she would always go, remember, deuces are wild. And that just always stuck with me. I was like, Deuces Wild. And that's what we landed on for the company name. And I just think we could do soft goods more over than just hats. You know, we could do 5 panels and trucker hats and shirts and like an apparel line.
Yeah.
So like I see a lot of opportunity and no need to change the name. I like where we're at. So we'll get there in time, you know, one step at a time. I'm also really excited to build out my own little hat studio in our garage.
Yeah, that's sick.
Who would have thought I'd ever have a garage? Because if you live in Breck, you don't get a garage. Yeah. Someone lives there.
Yeah, exactly. Every crevice of your house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a closet guy at one point.
Oh, okay.
When
yeah.
I was
I'm an
younger.
office girl at my house. I live in the office.
You live in the office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Checks out.
It's what makes it affordable. I mean, come on. I'm like, I'll take a little room if I can live on the mountain.
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
Those early days were tough, like in a fun way though. Like,
it's scrappy.
It was scrappy. We had, 7 dudes in like a 2-bedroom apartment up at Gold Camp, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's
right by where I live.
You can walk to the lifts from Gold Camp, and so everyone wants to be close. And I mean, you slept at various zones of the house depending on when you got home. So if you were the last one to get home, you were probably sleeping on the kitchen floor or under the coffee table. Like 2 dudes had rooms, and then there was one room had multiple twins in there. It's like, it was rough.
That is so funny.
And it was also like, that was a great time though. It makes you who you are.
Totally.
It is scrappy in that regard. And then you see the people over the years that like can scrap and will claw tooth and nail to make an existence and carve a life out for them. And then the others, you're like, I'm moving. You just got here last year. I'm move back home. I was like,
of course you are. Freshman dropping out of school. Bye. Couldn't make it. No, I appreciate that too, though. I mean, when I did my ski shares, it would only be for like 4 months at a time. But the last 2 we did, I mean, it was like you would rotate bedrooms. Like we'd all take turns. Yeah. Sleeping on couches, sleeping on the floor, sleeping in like, we had like this like weird like retro room with like a couch lining the thing, and we just have bodies on it. I mean, bodies everywhere, like at all times.
Bring your sleeping mask.
No, literally.
And your headphones.
Just brown noise city in my
Somebody's
ears.
coming home at 2:30 in the morning,
always.
Ready to keep going.
Always. And so that was, but I appreciate that. Like it was chaotic, and same with when I think about like starting my business, the same to you, like now having your own studio, like now I was talking about, I was podcasting out of my bed and now I'm sitting here, like every step, it's like fun to look back on. Like I would rather do it scrappy because financially you also save more money. I'm not trying to like have a building that I'm paying out the ass for. I'd rather pay a little bit or just do it, scrappy and then grow as I can afford it versus just using all my money. Absolutely. Because you have to just keep putting money back into the business too, as you know.
You have to invest in your business. That is you have to do that. Yeah. Otherwise you'll stagnate. You have to invest in it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about. It's even funny now just looking back, like first hats I shaped at my house, like I would have to bring gear from the storage unit to the house, set it up, and I would have to move it because we didn't have space for it all the time. And to be able to get to a place now where I can just build out a little workshop, have a space to do that, I'm welcoming that. It'll be a nice change. Exciting.
So what's next for you, business wise, personal wise? You've got a lot of new beginnings right now, I feel like.
Yeah, routine. That's what's next.
We're excited. You're gonna be a morning person.
Gonna be a morning person. We're gonna have to hit the streets running in Oklahoma City because I wasn't a bartender in that city for over 10 years. Yeah. So I'm going to have to be persistent. I think is going to be like the key. Yeah. I learned that earlier in life that, if you're just persistent, you can get more opportunity. Yeah. So following up with people 2, 3, 4 times. So they're like, let's get you in for an event. I think that's going to be crucial. Figuring out the Oklahoma way of life, that's going to be exciting for Jordan and myself both. Because, it's just something so new and unknown to us. And so just like feeling out a new city, a new place, finding our rhythm, embracing it, embracing the people, and just trying to make a new community at home.
Well, and like getting to do that together. You guys haven't gotten to like officially live together.
No, we've pushed back living together for too long at this point. Because it was certain things are going on either with her business or our leases, you know, and whatever was happening, it just wasn't lining up. Originally, we were going to move in together in Breckenridge in June earlier this year. And we were shopping around for places to rent. And when we realized like, this is so much money, like we could be building equity somewhere.
Right.
And the housing market is in crisis across the country.
Right.
And starter homes are fewer and farther between.
Right.
And we didn't want to be house poor either.
Yeah.
And so, you know, her sister sent us a listing. It's like kind of like a joke. Oh, you can always be neighbors with us. And we like looked at it. We were like,
that's a lot of house.
What?
Yeah.
Is this a misprint? Is that for real? And so that was really what planted the seed. And then it was like maybe 3 weeks later, she was closing on a house.
Wow.
Yeah. We just really listened to our intuition on that. And that was hard, but it made so much sense for us that we couldn't deny what we were feeling about it. Like we have to lean into this. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
You know, we already I moved the U-Haul out and
official.
She drove her car out this week. And now we're back here in Colorado for one final week to pick up one more vehicle. And she's leading a training for her company. And then we'll drive out to Oklahoma again on Sunday. And then we'll be getting settled. Yeah. Yard sales for the next, the unforeseeable future. Yeah, exactly.
Literally everything you own.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, I'm so excited for you guys.
Thank you, Sarah. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And give everyone all of your Instagram handles and how they can contact you. And don't be offended if it takes a few days because you're busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can find me at Deuces Wild Hat Co. DEUCES Wild Hat Co. on Instagram. Ryan Fantau, that's kind of a play on words, is my personal. WANNAFANTAU. Drop a line, say hello, and if you're in Oklahoma City, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah,
we'll meet up for
trying
a drink.
to make new friends.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is so fun.
Yeah, thank you. This has been awesome.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
You.
Bye. All right, that is a wrap on this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Definitely follow Ryan on all of the things. And if you live in Oklahoma City and you are a cool person, then reach out to him and Jordan. They just moved and are probably looking for friends and community there too. You can follow us at Raw Intentions Podcast. I launch new episodes every single Thursday anywhere you get your podcasts. If you feel so inclined, would love if you subscribed, leave a little rating or review. If you love us as much as we love you, just as we try to grow. And we always love hearing from you guys. If you ever want to slide in our DMs on Instagram and tell us, something that you liked on the podcast, something you didn't like, you want to chat about what you heard, chat about things you'd like us to talk about. I'm always all ears and love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. That's all I have for y'all this week. Have a fabulous weekend and I'll talk to y'all next Thursday. Bye.